TDS currently has 4 main game modes: Easy, Molten, Intermediate, and Fallen. Intermediate is the newest game mode added. It is supposed to be easier than Fallen yet harder than Molten. However, there used to be another game mode that held Intermediate's place, before eventually getting removed. Obviously, this game mode is Golden Mode, and today we will dive into its history and eventually why it was removed in the first place. Golden Mode was firstly released August 2nd, 2019, yet it wasn't known as Golden Mode, but rather as Hard Mode. The reason for this is that Fallen and Molten mods were known as Insane and Normal modes. So, another difficulty was needed to be added to cover difficulty spike between Normal and Insane modes, and this difficulty was Hard Mode. Hard Mode itself was actually just slightly harder in extended Normal mode, with special enemies at the end, so we will skip to the February 11th, 2024. Which is where Hard Mode officially became Golden Mode. Golden Mode was essentially just Fallen Mode, but easier. It used enemies from it, but in lower amounts. Golden Mode did have its own enemies too, but there were 6 of them, and half of them came on last waves of the game mode. Unfortunately, for the most part, the rest of new enemies weren't that interesting. Chain Boss was just a weaker giant boss, while Charged was a weaker glitch. However, Golden was more unique. You see, in both Molten and Fallen modes, enemies which Golden replaces had immunities. Molten was immune to fire while Fallen was stun immune, and Golden's immunity was immunity to explosions. Honestly, it didn't make sense why Golden was immune to explosions, as gold itself is a very soft metal and therefore is fragile to them. Most likely, they just wanted to give them immunity, but they ran out of them due to game still being old, so they had to stick with explosions. It didn't really impact Golden Mode that much, as despite explosive towers were quite strong at a time, most enemies were still affected by it. The final boss was Gold Titan, a massive guy with 80,000 HP. This wasn't his first appearance ever, however, as he also appeared in original Hard Mode before on Wave 60, and wasn't even a boss. Same was to Golden enemies. When Hard Mode became Golden, however, he became a true boss and gained abilities. In short, he was just Fallen King but easier. The reward for beating Golden Mode was 580 coins and some XP. Unfortunately, this made Golden Mode bad for grind, because Molten Mode gave just 80 less coins, but was easy to speedrun. And if you wanted a challenge, there was Fallen Mode, which offered a greater and more interesting challenge, as Golden Mode was just in its core. Once again, just easier Fallen Mode. This is where the biggest problem and possibly the reason for its removal arrives. It had no real purpose. It wasn't suitable for gold grind challenge and was just outclassed by other game modes. In fact, even developers seem to have neglected the game mode. Gold Titan was the only boss from normal modes who didn't have its own soundtrack and instead used Fallen Kings 1. He didn't even have his own badge. What a shame. So Golden Mode wasn't popular among community at all, until one thing added December 8th, 2019. This thing was Platinum Crate, which was basically a worse Golden Crate. It was obtained by beating 5 maps on all 4 difficulties, including Golden Mode. So Golden Mode had a use after all, perhaps not as a game mode but as a requirement. However, this won't matter soon, as one update will wipe out everything about both Golden Mode and Platinum Crate. 29 October update was as infamous as C's new song. It was the overhaul update which ironically underhauled most of the game. Here's what average TDS players think about it. Unfortunately, Golden Mode was the one to get the most damage from overhaul update. It was removed completely. Many players were pretty sad that this happened and still feel nostalgic about it, despite probably not playing it that much. I already said likely reason for this, but again, it had no real purpose except the now removed Platinum Crate. So this was the end of Golden Mode. Or was it? February 24th, 2024, a score medals for Golden Mode were returned, assumably as bug. However, how could that happen? How would you accidentally add thing like this back? Why were these images not deleted in the first place? And why is it still not fixed? I know I'm most likely tripping, but perhaps they are clearing ground for return of Golden Mode? Who knows? July 29th, 2022, a new map was added to the game. This map was Gilded Path, which is themed around Golden Mode removal with multiple golden enemies, including Gold Titan laying dead. It serves as a memorial of Golden Mode to many players. On May 3rd, 2024, a new mode was released which is supposed to be harder than Molten but easier than Fallen. But what could this game mode possibly be? Obviously, it was the return of Gold. It was Intermediate Mode. Essentially, it took place of Golden Mode. So therefore let's compare it to golden mode to see which game mode executes its purpose better. First of all, intermediate has its own music, and not boss music only, but also ambient music in general. It also has badge unlike golden mode. Next one is wave design, and honestly I don't like intermediate's wave design. It focuses on sending as much trash as possible even in early waves. Just look how many different enemies are here. It's too overwhelming, and it doesn't get any better until last wave, though you'll likely get good enough defense to handle the enemy spam. Speaking of final wave, intermediate only has 30 waves opposed to golden mode's 40. So, golden mode is more long and chill while intermediate is chaotic and spams tons of enemies. As final boss, we have Patient Zero who can buff other enemies, and he also rages at half health, and he has more HP than Gold Titan. Intermediate has way more unique enemies, and though most of them are just punching bugs, some have unique abilities like Ghoul heals himself. Unfortunately, intermediate's reward is not good as it's only 500 coins, which was same as Molten modes before its reward got nerfed, but now Fallen gives double of that. Therefore, just like golden mode, it has a problem of not having a reason to play it more than one time to get the badge, as they're just better ways of grinding. And finally, intermediate mode has lore while gold mode doesn't. Unfortunately, it doesn't expand beyond commander's voice lines during the game, but it still plants some seeds for theorizers, for example a theory that Patient Zero is actually Brawler. So, which mode is better? Well, I give the edge to intermediate despite all the problems it has due to it just being more modern and fun instead of just being an easier Fallen. In conclusion, golden mode was a flawed mode that got removed due to being purposeless to most players. While it does feel nostalgic after many years, I just can't get over the fact that it just wasn't as good as people remember it. Nostalgia is a very strong sense after all. However, as I already stated, it may not be an end for golden mode. Maybe, one day, it will return as 5th game mode or special mode, and if it does, I hope it will be good. The game mode has a really huge potential that just wasn't built correctly. In my opinion, if the game mode was built correctly, it would be survive to the current days, and maybe get reworked like Fallen mode, but you'll never know. Anyway, thanks for watching, I will see you on the next one. Bye.